Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Ches. So we just ran through quickly the Shav Brachos yesterday. Rashi as a whole, Mahalach in terms of the order. We don't really have time to get into that. Weddings and Hashem Simchas. So we Mishberachs. So we got to Daf Ches, Maseches Kesubos, right? All right, all right. So pay around 15 lines from the top. Levi, last word of the line. Daf Ches Med Aleph, and away we go. Levi, Kler Lebei, Rebbe Behelule. So Levi, he was by Rebbe for a chasna. By Behelule, Rabbi Shimon Berei, right? So he was there for the chasna of Rabbi Shimon Berei. So Baruch Chamesh, so he was there for the chasna. So he made 5 Shav Brachos, right? He said 5 of them, 5, not the 6 that we mentioned before, right? Which actually the 7th one is Berei Piragofin, which comes first, which we do nowadays, right? The first is only at the chasna, and then afterwards is actually the last. But anyway, so that was he made 5, right? And we just listed 6. And Rabasi, the Bei Ravashi Belulei Temabrei Brachshis. And Ravasi was by the chasna by Ravashi, right, for his son, and then he made 6. So one did 5 Shav Brachos, right? Even though Shav is like 7, right? So one did 5 brachos, the other one did 6. So why did they leave one out? Now, if you notice, right, there 2 of the brachos finished with Yetzer Ha'adam, right? Number 2, and then the next one, 2 and 3. So the Mar Savar Chad Yitzira Havi, Mar Savar Shtei Yitziros Havi. One said it was one Yitzira, right? And therefore, it was one creation. Man and woman were created as one. And the other one says, no, man was created, woman was created. So our answer is low. Everyone agrees, right, that there was one creation, right? And then, however, and then, the Chava came from Adam. However, the once the machshava, the original machshava was there was going to be 2. And the other one says you go after the actual Maisa, right? You go after, since the Maisa, Yitzira, the creation was only a creation of one person, so therefore you only do one Yetzer Hadam, you don't do it twice. The one pasuk says he created Adam. That one says Zachar and Akeva Baron created them. So how Ketzah was it 1 or 2? Which one is it? So in the beginning, the thought was to create, the intentions were to have 2. But in the end, when man was fashioned, but it was created as 1. Fine.
When you say 2, that means the man and the woman separately.
Right. Well, the machshava was that there were going to be 2, right? 2 separate, species, right?
From him, that they would be 2 separate entities.
Right. I mean, right. But the mice and ants, she came from him. But the intentions were that even though I'm going to create, or because I was going to create 1, from that 1, 2 were going to come from that 1, a man and a woman. So Ravashi iklo lebei Rav Kahana says by Rav Kahana Yemek Kama Baruch Kulu. First day he said all the Shav Brachos Mikan Veilach Yika Panim Chadashes Baruch Kulu. From there, afterwards, if there are Panim Chadashes, new people, and notice when there's new people, it increases the Simcha. Someone else is now there to greet you, creates new Simcha, right? It renews it. That's why you make more brachas. So Yika Panim Chadashes Baruch Kulu. You say, oh, but Yilo Afushe Simcha Bialma, and therefore it's just a Simcha. There's no new added level. And the Varach Shas Simcha B'Menov, right? Then you have and so then you only add Shas Simcha B'Menov, right? That the Simcha is his, is by is Hashem's, right? So in other words, that which is what we do in the beginning, right? In the beginning of the Zimun, right? That is you added during Shav Brachos. Shas Simcha B'Menov the Ashabara Meshiva Ve'ad Shleishim, and then so we say and we say the bracha of Ashabara, right, from the 7th day into the 30th day. So bein amarlu machmas hilula, bein lo amarlu machmas hilula, right? Whether or not they specify that this is because of the wedding, nevertheless, there still is simcha there. Mevarach Shasimcha B'Menov. Then they say Shasimcha B'Menov even from day 7 to day 30, right? Not just during Shavuos. Afterwards, they say, okay, if this is because we're all gathered together, a special simcha, then they say Shasimcha B'Menov, Mevarach Shasimcha B'Menov, and if not, then lo. So but anytime you say it's because of the wedding, even if it's 4 years later, right? So then you add that ad emas 12 months shasa time.
So the first year.
For the first year, right? If there was someone there, yes. If the gathering is there because of the wedding celebration,
Does it have to be consecutive? Or?
No, it can be at the end, right. And so the Gemara says, "I mekarim emas." And when can you start? So Marapapa michi ramusari basita. Right. Once you start the preparations, the wedding preparations, you go ahead and you start soaking the barley, right? Getting it good, for the beverages or whatever is needed for the chasna. So once you start preparations, so he was there was making a chasna for Abba Marbarei. And he started making the bracha Shasimcha B'Menov from the time of Erusin. This is much longer before. So Shani Rapapa Dahavi Tarechle, because he had people there. I guess he was a wealthy man. They had people go ahead and doing it for him. He didn't have to do the preparations himself. So therefore, normally the preparation itself is when the simcha starts, but he wasn't doing any of the preparations. So the simcha really started from the Erusin. And Ravina Yasek the Bray Bei Rav Chaviva. So Ravina made a shidduch for his son.
Only if the husband and Kala are both there.
Okay. No, could be. Yeah. So yeah. So Ravino he was also he made a shidduch for his son with the house of Rav Chaviva. Ubaruch b'shas Erusin made a bracha b'shas Erusin. So Amar, and he said, "Kimli begavai delei hajibu." Right. I know, even though that the wedding is not for a long time, I know they're going to make it to the to the chuppah, and therefore we can start the celebration now. And as you might guess, and however, lo yisai milsa b'hajibu. But never, in fact, I guess things did not work out and did not end up making it to the chuppah. Fine. End of the third wide line of Tachlifa bar Marava Ikla leBavel Berchis Arichta. So he went there and he made 6 long brachas. In other words, that all of them, right? We know that Shakol Berach Lodo, Yetzer Adam are shorter brachas. There's no chasima to all of them. It's just one straight bracha. However, you don't do that. You don't add to the brachas. Right? The halacha is not like him. He was by a bris milah. Baruch Shasimcha b'Meno, but he made the bracha that Shasimcha b'Meno because this is a simcha. Right, it's not yuchad. It's not specifically doesn't mention right man and wife. Right, it's just a simcha. However, no, because we don't do that because it's not a complete simcha because of the pain that is caused to the child. Right, chasanim grooms are can be counted amongst the minyan. However, a mourner will soon see for what is not considered min minyan. So Meisvei Chasanim Avelim Mina Minyan. We have a brayso that says that Chasanim and Avelim are part of the Minyan. So Masnis and Karamis Allah, right? You're asking from a Mishnah brayso on Allah the Rav on Rav Tanu the Polik, right? Rav has the authority despite the fact that he wasn't technically a Tana, right? So nevertheless he has the authority to argue on a brayso, right? And therefore, so even though that says the chasadim, avelim are included, right? He held that they're not. So Itamar Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Amar Rabbi Yochanan. So this is now a name Rabbi Yochanan, not Rav. So chasadim min minyan, avelim min minyan. So he says the same as Rav said. He says chasadim are for the minyan, and avelim are min minyan. So meisvei chasadim avelim min minyan. So you just said that avel is not part of the 10, and over here we have a brayso that seems to say chasadim avelim are min minyan, right? They are part of the minyan. So interesting to note, by the way, why the Gemara did not answer. Oh, he held like Rav because Rav held Tano Polig. But anyways, so the Gemara says no. Kitanya hahi. Turn the page, right? So it says over there. Kitanya hi b'birchas hamazon. In birchas hamazon, that which was talking about, you can count them. So by the avelim, right? By the chasanim, so you can go ahead and count them for the birchas hamazon. You want to have a zimun, right? Or you want to go ahead and bench. So they're included in the 10. Kikama Rabbi Yochanan Bashura. And however, that which Rabbi Yochanan says that knows that we do not count the Avel is Beshura, right? When they line up, they have two lines and they go through to comfort the mourners, all right, from the base of Kvaros. The Elohad, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mevarchim Birchas Chasana be'asar v'chasana min haminyan, u'Birchas Avala b'asara ve'en Avala min haminyan. So what do I mean? It says there you do Birchas Chasanim, i.e. the Shav Brachas with 10, and the Chasan is part of the 10, and Birchas Avelim, and the bracha of the mourners, right, is with 10, and the Avel is not part of it. So bracha b'shura miika. So you said we're talking about the shura when they line up and the mourners walk between the shuros, right? So and they're part of the minyan there, but there's no bracha that goes on there. They don't say a bracha. So miika. So Ela ki kama Rabbi Yochanan berachav, right? So they used to go ahead and have a suda, right, out in the Suda out in the street before. I guess they go ahead and in the town square they go out and make the bracha there. The Elohad, Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Yochanan, Mevarchim Birchas Chasanim be'asara Kol Shiva. The Chasanim in a minute. It says that they make Birchas Chasanim for the groom during Sheva brachas, right? You need 10, and the Chasan's part of the 10, and you do it for all 7 days. U'Birchas Avelim, and then when it comes to the Avel be'asara, also once again with 10, Kol Shiva, all 7 days of the Avelis. They Avelim in a minyan, right? And the Avel is not part of the minyan. And Birchas Rechava called Shiva Miika. And who has, right? We're talking about when they have their first meal after the burial, right? Which is where the bracha is. So it says there you do it for 7 days. So how do you have that for 7 days? Miika. So the answer is Mishkachas Panim Chadashos. Right? Once again, this concept of Panim Chadashos means that those initial feelings, right? When it comes to a simcha, we say Panim Chadashos because it adds to the initial simcha. And when it comes to mourners, right, you see someone for the first time after someone buried a relative, so it also those feelings come up once again. So therefore the Panim Chadashos would sort of trigger, right, these this Birchas Rechava. So Meshach Zav Panim Chadashos ki had Rav Chia bar Abba Makri b'nei Reish Lakish. So Rav Chia bar Abba, he was, I guess, the teacher. He used to teach psukim to the children of Reish Lakish. Havi. Probably some say Masni b'nei Reish Lakish. Havi. Some say he taught them Mishnayos. He was the Rebbe, either 2nd grade Rebbe or 4th grade Rebbe, right? And Havi Shachiv leYanuka. And Rav Chia bar Abba, one of his young child died, and Yom Kama La'azul. So they went ahead and they buried him. The first day, Reish Lakish was not able to go ahead and make the levaya. So Lazul got legabe lemacha the next day. So David Yehuda bar Nachmani meturgme. So Reish Lakish, I guess, got Yehuda bar Nachmani, who was his interpreter. So Amalei kum ema milsa. Go, say some words of consoling. Right. So what do you say? So Kumema Milsa Kokabi Yanuka, right? So go ahead and say something regarding the child. So Pasach V'Yamar. So he got up and he says, V'Yamar V'Yir Hashem V'Yanatz Mikas Bonav Breisav Dor Sha'avos Menatzim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Koyis Al B'nei V'Abnasei U'Meisim Shem Katan. So he says over there, right? So he brought the pasuk over there. So it says that when Hashem saw, right, in other words, that the wickedness and then that which they were doing, which is bad. So therefore, even a generation when the fathers and are doing bad, then it's the children who suffer, then they die. In other words, it wasn't from the sins of the children, rather it was from the actions of the avos. And Vikadam,
very nice thing.
Yeah, well, I guess he wasn't him, but we'll soon see what he gets. I don't know if it gets worse or gets better. Vikadamri Bachar, some say it was the Bachar Kamar. So it's al Bechurav la Yismach Hashem, right? So for his Bechurav, right, his the young lads, right? So they Hashem was not happy, right? He did not, and he did not. There was no rachamim la Yismach. Hashem as Yisamav as Amanoisav leYirachem, and Hashem, right? He did not take any mercy upon the Yisamim, the orphans and the widows. Kikulu Chanav Marev V'Chol Ped Dover Nevela, right? Because everyone was doing wicked and speaking bad, and even with all this, right? Even all that, the punishments, nevertheless, Hashem still didn't suppress the anger. What does it mean? His hand is still outstretched. In other words, with still punishment that would be given. Everyone knows, right, what happens on the night of the wedding. But rather, if someone goes ahead and mentions it and sends something inappropriate, right? And people know what happens with the bride and groom after the wedding. So people go ahead and mention it. Even as one has destined to have 70 years of goodness, right, of award, nevertheless, that can be switched from even this type of nivel peh. So the Gemara says, so he said this, it basically seems that he died for his own sins. So also the Nachmoni. So you come to comfort me, and you're basically saying that it's because of his nivel peh and his other actions is why he died at a young age. So this is what he's saying. Right? In other words, you're chashiv enough that the entire generation, right, is there's like a korban on behalf of the nation, and therefore you're chashiv enough that his death should be like a kapara on behalf of the entire nation. So Amar Lei. So furthermore, Reish Lakish told Yehuda was what was his name?
Interpreter.
Yeah, right. His interpreter, right? Fine, just lost where it was. No, yeah, Nachmani. Yeah, makes it sounds right. So he says, this happened right. Yehuda bar Nachmani. So he turned to him again. He says, Amar Lei, kum. Ema milsa keneged shivcha Kodesh Baruch. Go ahead and say something keneged Kodesh Baruch. So pasach v'amar hakel hagadol b'Rav Gedlo, right? The great Almighty, with all His greatness, adir v'chazak v'Rav Naros, right? He's who's his awesomeness, right? And he does all this types of naros. He can go ahead and bring back the dead with his word. Right? There is no comprehension, understanding to his gedolos, that which his actions, and all of his niflos, his miracles are without number. He is the one who goes ahead and and resurrects the dead, brings back the dead. So go ahead and say something about Avelim. So pasuk v'amar achenu hamyugin hamadukai, right? So those of you, my achenu, right, our brothers, right, who are in this situation, right, this situation, who have tsar ba'avel hazet tinu levavchem achor es zos, right, with this avelus, right, you should go ahead and be chayker, go ahead and look into this matter. Zaisi amedes laad. That should be for all. Nasiv who misheshim embraces. Now, this is something that is this is natural, right? This is something that has occurred since Avelus, since the 6 days of creation. Rabim shasu v'rabim yishtu, right? Many have drinking from this cup of mourning, and many will drink. This is this is part of life, right? The mishter rishonim kach mishter achron, just like the previous generation. So to later, so our brothers who are consoling, right? You should be comforted. So Abaye noted on this. Rabim shasu lema. You can say that many have drank this, this cup of mourning. However, Rabim usually lo lema. Don't go ahead and start mentioning that others should. As we say, as we see, al tiftach pelusot. And Mishta Rishona Lema, Mishta Achronim Lema, right? Go ahead and say the Mishta Rishona drank from this, but don't say that the future generations will go ahead and drink from this cup of mourning. The Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish b'chein tanu b'shvid Rabbi Yossi la'olam al yiftach adam pivasad. Person should not go ahead and open his mouth to the sun, right? Basically, just go ahead and challenge it and hint to the sun. So Amar Rabbi Yossi, and I was over here. Don't mention that people in the future will be mourners, because what's going to happen? The sun's going to say, yeah, it's a good idea. Let me go ahead and make some mourners, right? And where do we know this concept from? So it says, right? So they said, right, that the people, they compare themselves to Sdom. And then what happened? Then what did the Navi say? So he said, then he basically said, yeah, you're like the people of Sdom. So the ones you mentioned were like Sdom. Then, oh yeah, you want to see Sdom? I'll treat you like the people of Sdom. So go ahead and say something regarding those who comfort the mourners. So you are chesed, people who do chesed. kindness to the children of those who do kindness. Who hold on to the bris of Avram Avinu, Shnamar, Ki Adati v'Laman Asher Yitzaveh Banav, or parentheses to take it out, right? Let's get parentheses. Achenu Bal Hagamo Yishalim V'Chem Gemuchem. He who is the holder of all the kindness, he should go ahead and give you reward. Baruch Atah Mishalem Hagamo, right? Blessed are you that you should go ahead and reward those who Baruch Atah. All right, so it says. Who's Mishalem Hagamo, who goes ahead and pays the reward to those who are Menachem Aveda. So I'm like, who maybe Milsa can I so now go say something to Mr. Interpreter. Go say something regarding Israel. So Pasuk go ahead and redeem and save. Right, your nation of Israel, mina dever, mina chev, mina biza, mina shtafan, mina rekon, from all these different types of plagues and the plagues and swords, right? And those, I guess, wars and wind blasts, right, and different stuff. So the crops, right? When we call diseases, when we call many pranios, and all bad types of things that come to this world. Terem dikra ve'atatana, right? They should, before we call out to you, they should be cured before we even have to call out to you. Baruch atah oitza magefa, right? Blessed are you, he who stops the plagues. And Omar Ulav, some say it was talking to Brisa. Asara kaisais, right? There were 10 cups. Tiknu chachamim bebeis ha'avel. There are 10 cups, right? And the day after the burial, they go have the suda. You got to have 10 cups of wine, right? 3 before the chila. Kadei liftach b'nei mav, in order that his intestines, his stomach should open up and he should be able to eat it. Shleish b'zech achilas. And then 3 during the meal, that it should go down easy. Then you have 4 more cups of wine after the meal, right? And why 4? Can I get a hazan? Each one can I get one of the brachas of brachas hamazon. One can I get hazan, echad can I get brachas haaretz, echad can I get bnei Yerushalayim, echad can I get hatav ha'meit. So they had 10, and then 10 was enough. Then they added 4 more cups. Echad can I get chazan yair. Right, for behalf of the Chazan Yair, I guess those people who worked on behalf of the town, right? The Echad Keneged Panas Yair, then 1 on behalf of those who support this city, the Echad Keneged Beis Hamikdash, and then 1 also the Keneged Beis Hamikdash, the Echad Keneged Rabban Gamliel, and 1 Keneged Rabban Gamliel Sumsi Y, and he's Chilu. So they used to go ahead and 14 cups on that day. So what do you think happened? He's Shaisi Mishtakrin. They were drinking and they became drunk. So then they said, okay, 14 is too much. Bring it down to 10. Okay, I guess it was a little more diluted. So my Rabban Gamliel, why is this? Why they have a cup of wine during Gamliel? Why was there a l'chaim during Gamliel? The time of the Nebraisa B'Shana Isa Hoitzas Hameis Kasha l'Kroiv Yasim Emisai. In the beginning, right? They used to be, I guess, the expenses, right? Actually, nowadays is also not so kind. But the expenses to go ahead and bury the dead were so much. Right, it was almost worse to be a barrier than one being buried. Because I guess the shrouds and stuff they could dress in fine linens. So until he says we can't bury him, we just leave him out, and then they'll come to Chassid Emes. So until Rabban Gamliel came and he instituted that for him, that when he's buried, he should be buried in the cheapest of shrouds, right, and buried that way in order that shouldn't be an extra expense upon his family. And v'nogu kol am acharav, then everyone after he did it, so everyone said followed it, right? And everyone after that, right, and everyone goes ahead, yeah, and then wore the klipishin. Now they put out just a piece of cloth, even worth 1 zuz, the cheapest of the cheap, to bury in order not to be any sort of burden upon the family that's burying. All right, everybody, we'll stop here tomorrow. Mitzvah Shem.